So when we look at starting to simplify radicals, just really square roots, it's important to understand what we're actually looking for. So what we're looking for when we simplify these radicals are really perfect squares. So a perfect square is just the product of the same number multiplied by itself. So like perfect squares would be 1 times 1. 1 squared is going to be 1. So then 2 squared, 2 times 2. This is going to be 4. So 1 is a perfect square. 4 is a perfect square. 3 squared, 3 times 3. 9. 4 squared is 16. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. 7 squared is 49. 8 squared is 64. 9 squared is 81. 10 squared is 100. Well, we probably won't get much higher than 10 squared when we're working with these, but those are all example of perfect squares. 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. So when you're simplifying radicals, that's what you're looking for underneath there. So like the square root of 36 is really just 6 times 6. So that pair is what the square root of 36 equals. So like the square root of 18 is really 3 times 2 times 3, but that group or that pair of 3's is really 9, and the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 2 would stay. So what happens is we're looking for two numbers of the same thing being multiplied because that represents a perfect square that we're going to pull out of there. So then similarly, like the square root of 9 times 9 would be the square root of 81. The square root of 81 is 9. So how about the square root of 60? The square root of 60 would be 3 times 2 times 5 times 2. So a perfect square under there is going to be 2 times 2. 4 is the perfect square in there. So that 2 is what comes out. And the square root of 3 and 5, which is 15, stay underneath. So what we're going to do, these are already factored for us. So we're going to have to do the factoring to simplify them. So we can simplify radicals by finding perfect squares or pairs underneath that radical. So when we do, it's in simplest form when there are no more perfect squares left. So we're going to go down and practice simplifying some of those expressions.